Hi guys, how you doing? Oh my goodness, it's Thursday. I've got one more day of radiation and chemo before it's the weekend, thank goodness. I met with a dear friend of mine this morning, Deanna. Shout out to Deanna. Hi Deanna, love you. Oh, she's such a great woman. I am so lucky and I am so blessed. She got me a bracelet, which I can't show you right now because I'm driving and holding a phone. But she got me the beautiful bracelet and it says blessed on it, and I'm just I'm just in awe of people sometimes and how great they are. And I want to tell you guys thank you, because every time I ask you guys to like shoot energy or good vibes my way, I wake up and I feel better. I feel good. And this morning I woke up and I felt pretty good. So, oh, my hair is driving me crazy today though. But I thought I would just finish my, or add to a little bit. I started talking the other day about my career, and I don't know why it's been on my mind lately, but I really do miss my career. I don't know where I left off, but when I became a nurse, I worked first in a hospital for a couple years. And I worked in the emergency room and in the telemetry unit on the cardiac floor. Cardiac step down, floated to ICU a couple times, did not like it. ICU is just not my thing. I think when I was younger, and you know, when you can probably attest to this, that when you're younger, you have a lot more energy, but I was a trauma junkie. I thrived on controlled chaos. I would have been a crappy paramedic because it's a really uncontrolled environment. But in the emergency room, I learned so much about life. Learned a lot about medicine. You pretty much have to be prepared for anything. And then I started working a second job. You know, I had 2 kids and I wanted to go back to school, and at one point I wanted to go to medical school, but that never happened. Then I wanted to go to law school and all of these things. So instead of going to all of those schools, what I ended up doing is incorporating them into my career somehow. So I got a second job. I worked in the emergency room and I worked 12-hour shifts. And so I worked 3 days a week and I had 4 of the other days off. And I worked home health and hospice and home infusion. And then I got a job as, initially as like a director of nursing for a home infusion company. But it was a new company and it was a satellite office. And so my job was to go get business, take care of the business, train nurses to do home infusion. And I ended up working specifically for hemophilia patients. If you don't know what hemophilia is, it is a blood disease. It's a bleeding disease. It is where your blood doesn't clot. One of the clotting cascades that would normally clot your blood, like if you get scraped or something and stop you from bleeding, isn't there. And because I specialized in that, I ended up getting a sales job in hemophilia for a specialty pharmacy company based out of New Jersey, and started traveling. And I was specific to hemophilia. That company sold, and I ended up becoming a rep for Bayer Biologics, which not for pills or anything like that. I was for specialty infusion. So what I did, my job was to go talk to doctors about IVIG, immunotherapy, things like that. Boy, I learned a lot there. Now, during all this time that I had these, corporate jobs or sales jobs, I still worked in the emergency room. It was just a thing. I would work like 1 or 2 days a week in the emergency room, and I would travel around. That was on Saturday or Sunday, and I would travel around during the week. All of that led to I ended up in a specialty pharmacy, and I was the director. What was I? I was a general manager for the specialty pharmacy. It was a small specialty pharmacy in Missouri, and it was a franchise. So what they ended up doing was selling to Walgreens Home Infusion, and when they sold, I could no longer be the general manager because they went from being a privately held company to a public company, and I did not have the right pedigree. They wanted a pharmacist to be a general manager, and so that kind of put me out of a job. And from there, oddly enough, I went to a hospice company, and I was I'm not sure, I think I was the director of ops for that company. Let's talk about that for a minute, and then we'll kind of end on that note. That hospice company is a well-known hospice company in the United States, and I'm not going to say the name of it, is the only job I ever got fired from. And you know what? I didn't get fired because of incompetence. I think that's what the gal that fired me, I think that's what she would like to think. Thinking back on it, I probably should have. There should have been some legal action involved on my part, but there wasn't. I loved that job. Hospice is a different kind of animal, and this was a new company that came into the area that I worked in. They had 2 offices, one on each side of the state line, and so I was over both of those, and my job was to make it profitable. Basically, I had kind of built my career into that position. I would come in and make things profitable, make them work. So I had a sales director, and I had a medical director, and all of these things, and so I got fired. And I got fired because the sales director, my sales manager at the time, we did not get along very well. I think she wanted my job, and I got it. So when I came in, she was not happy, and she was a devious little thing. So if she's watching this, honey, you know who you are, and you guys know what you did. Why did I get fired? It's a good question. The only thing I remember about that was that she said that she listed off a bunch of things that people in my office said about me, none of which she could prove. But one of them, I remember specifically, she's like, oh yeah, and they said that, you come to the office in sweatpants. And I just started laughing. I'm like, I don't even own a pair of sweatpants. And at the time, I didn't. I worked out a lot, but I didn't own sweats. And anybody who knew me at the time knew that I was always dressed to the nines. I always had a suit on. Shoes were my favorite thing in the world. So I was always just dressed really well. And I did that for a reason. I think that if you dress really well, especially in positions like that, people respond to you differently than if they would have responded to me in sweats. Anyway, the girls in the office didn't like me that much. My sales manager didn't like me that much because my job as the director or as the general manager to come in and make something profitable, nobody's ever popular in that position because you're responsible for money. Making things profitable means that you design a budget, you follow the budget, you make cuts, and you add to, and nobody's ever happy with you. Oh my goodness. So, but that was a pivotal point in my life when I got fired from that job. I took it really, really hard because I had never been fired from anything in my life. I had always been successful, and so I took that for a long time as a sign of failure, and what I realized is that it wasn't my failure, it was theirs. But I think we'll leave on that note. I did a lot more after that, but we'll leave on that note. So if you guys have got any questions, give me a call and give me a call. You can give me a call if you want to, or text me, or email me, or you can just ask me a question in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment or two. I love those. Thank you guys so much for sending me all your positive vibes. I love it. Helping me a whole lot. And I'm on my way to radiation. So we will talk to you later.